Just want to share with you real quick. I want you to think about something. The way things are going in the world, we really need to trust in God. And we need to look for the miraculous because the word says in the last days that God will pour out his spirit on all flesh. The stories in the Bible are to build up our faith and our trust in God. And we are to believe them. And one of the things that I'm sitting here reading the book of Matthew that I think we really need to consider is the where Jesus fed the 5,000. He took, let's see, and it's chapter 14. I'm going to start here at verse 16. But Jesus said to them, they do not need to go away. He's talking about the multitude, the crowd um, that his disciples wanted to send away to go get something to eat. They do not need to go away. You give them something to eat. And they said to him, we have here only 5 loaves and 2 fish. And he said, bring them here to me. Then he commanded the multitude to sit down on the grass. And he took the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he blessed and broke and gave the loaves to the disciples, and the disciples gave the multitudes. So they all ate and were filled, and they took up 12 baskets full of fragments and remained. Now those who had eaten were about 5,000 men, besides women and children. So I'm sharing this with you today because this is something that we may have to do in this end times. Um, some people might have the finances to put some food back, and you should. You should do that. But also at the same time, we got to believe that God will supply our needs. And if we only have a little bit, we need to pray over it and bless it and watch it multiply. Because nothing is impossible for God. Absolutely nothing. So think about that. Remember that. Put that in your mind and in your heart, because you may need to use it. I know that Heidi Baker, she has a testimony. Look her up on YouTube. Heidi Baker. She has a testimony about blessing food and feeding, because she has a ministry in Africa. I just wanted to share that with you. Something to think about for this last days and hours. And maybe you're in a situation right now that you need a miracle. Now I'll tell you this real quick from my own experience. My husband and I, God had put us in a beautiful house on the beach in Wrightsville Beach. At the time, I think the house was worth $500,000. God did a miracle and put us in there for free. We lived there for a year. And we had several other people living there with us to help them. And we came up to, we didn't have food in the house to feed everybody. And so I went in my room and I was praying. I was crying out to the God, and I reminded God of the scripture that you wouldn't see your children begging for bread. And I got a phone call from another sister who shared a testimony with me to build up my faith. I didn't call her. She didn't know anything was going on. And she shared a testimony about how God had supplied for her and her husband. Then after I hung up with her, got another phone call from my husband, who told me that a brother called him and said, listen, I just didn't tell you, I forgot, got busy, but I put your names down at the food bank. I have an account there. Go get whatever you need, and as much as you need. And that's how God supplied our way for a long time there. and we would have more than enough, and we shared it with our neighbors, and we shared it with people that God told us to give it to. So just remember that God has you, that God is for you, and nothing, absolutely nothing is impossible for Him. God bless you guys, and have a great day. Bye bye.